Hello, everyone. Welcome to NeoUnrealist. The New Mexico governor closes all roads into the city of Gallup to mitigate the uninhibited spread of COVID-19. Okay, that sounds pretty drastic, pretty draconian. I think, like most of you, when I heard that a few days ago, I think she ordered the city closed on Friday. I think I heard it over the weekend, Saturday or Sunday. I believe Saturday I heard it. Upon first hearing it, I just naturally, my first thought was, this is another Democrat governor, rubbing that one ring of power. My precious, just try to just impose a lockdown on people unnecessarily. Then, I guess over the weekend and into today, I guess I said, you know what, let me give this governor a fair shake. We are in the middle of a national emergency. Let me see what's going on here. And I looked further into it. And as Tim Pool would say, it's complicated. Here's the governor of New Mexico. She declared a state of emergency Friday for the city of Gallup to mitigate the uninhibited spread of COVID-19. Okay, so that's the reason she cites. Is that in fact the case? Just to give you a lay of the land, here is the state of New Mexico. The city of Gallup is here, up in the northwest corner. It's in McKinley County. The problem in New Mexico is pretty bad in McKinley County and San Juan County, essentially the extreme northwest of the state. The rest of the state, here's Albuquerque, that's the largest city in New Mexico. Here's Roswell, New Mexico, in case you're looking for aliens. Here's Alamogordo. Not a lot of big population centers in New Mexico. You're talking about Albuquerque and Santa Fe being the major ones. Other than that, it's pretty much big empty in terms of population density. But the city of Gallup, as you can see, it's the only one big enough in the entire county of McKinley to be properly listed as a city or town. The next closest on this map is Granaris. But if you're not familiar with the area, the complicating factor here is that McKinley County and San Juan County, large portions of them, are incorporated inside the Navajo Nation. And the Navajo Nation, I believe it's the largest Indian reservation or area in the United States. Not 100% sure on that. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But here is Gallup. They're in the southeast corner of it, and this Navajo Nation is so big, it's in parts of 3 states. Here we are in northwest New Mexico. The largest part of it is in northeast Arizona. Goes from the border almost all the way to Flagstaff. And it goes north into Utah. Here's the Colorado River. So no part of it is in Colorado as far as I could tell. So it's in parts of 3 states. And here's Gallup. So even on here where the map is sort of zoomed in a little more, still there's really no town within reasonable driving distance. I mean, to go from Gallup to, say, Standing Rock, and I'm not sure even Standing Rock is what you call a major town. That's looks like it's at least 25 miles. So you're going to do a little bit of driving, but to get to the next, to what you could reasonably call a city by the standards of the rest of the country, that's Albuquerque. That looks like it's more than 100 miles away. So to many of the people that live on the reservation, unfortunately, this is an area with a lot of poverty. Many of the people living in this area outside of Gallup don't even have running water, internal plumbing in their homes. So Gallup is the place where they have to go to get necessities as basic as just drinkable water, if you could believe that. And the only place where there's anything resembling medical infrastructure. So it's important for the people in this border area of the Navajo Nation to have access to Gallup. Well, the problem is, or not problem, it seems like the leadership of the Navajo Nation agrees with the general opinion of the people that run Gallup and the governor of New Mexico, because the Navajo Nation itself is under coronavirus restrictions similar to what most states in the country have right now. But specific to Gallup, apparently there's just a case where the most affected part of New Mexico happens to be this McKinley County and San Juan County, but especially McKinley County. Most of the new cases, most of the deaths, it's an isolated area, and to the effect that it could be isolated there, it's probably a good idea. Now, this is the local area. As you can see, it's actually pretty easy to isolate it. I guess this is the one small airport in the area, and there's really only 6 roads in and out of this place. One road going south, one road to the north, and then the east-west tributaries. It looks like there's 2 roads, basically I-40, and then there's this little, I don't even know what road this is, but this is I-40 east and west. Exit 22 has a checkpoint. Exit 20 to the west has a checkpoint. Then to the south, you have New Mexico 602, mile point 27.5 as a checkpoint. Then to the north, this is interstate, or is this U.S. Route 491, has a checkpoint. U.S. 491 at the mile point for the South Chino Loop. And I guess to the west, this road is called the New Mexico 118. So there's a checkpoint on New Mexico 118 at the Hampton Inn, which also captures the County Road 26. And New Mexico mile point 118, New Mexico 118 mile point 25.7, and that also captures New Mexico 118 traffic and I-40 exit 26. That's another checkpoint. So what happens is, you pull up to one of these checkpoints, and the state police, it looks like, they set up the checkpoints. You can see there's a little bit of a backup there. I'm guessing there's not a lot of traffic going in and out of Gallup. Here you can see the state police, essentially, they lean into your car, check your identification, make sure that you live or work in Gallup. As far as I know, if you live in Gallup, you could leave at any time, but going in is restricted. And it looks like to go in, you have to have essential business there. Either you live there, clearly, or you work there in an essential capacity. Within the city, they're taking on social distancing, as you can see here. Here we have people waiting online to get into the grocery store, it looks like. Tape marks here, keeping these people 6 feet apart on the line. But even inside these stores, I think here, I believe this is a Walmart, not 100% certain, but this is clearly the inside of a store there, where even the non-essential areas like selling sunglasses and jewelry, vacation-type clothing, those are also taped off. But I don't think that's an official state, city, or county policy. I think that's just the store itself taping off that area to keep non-essential shopping closed off. So it looks like they're just keeping food and things like that. That's a store policy, so you can't blame that on the governor. So this is Governor Michelle Grisham. She issued this order because basically what happened is she didn't impose this on Gallup. The mayor of Gallup, the outgoing mayor, was Jackie McKinney. She requested in this letter that the governor use what's called the Riot Control Act in New Mexico, where apparently the governor of New Mexico has the power for a period of 3 days to impose those type of restrictions, and they can be renewed every 3 days, which that happened on Monday. She put this order on Friday. It would have expired Monday, except she renewed it, so now the new renewal date is Thursday. So unless the situation changes, she'll probably renew it again on Thursday. But this was done also by the incoming mayor, because as soon as she sent this letter, that same day, this mayor's term in office ended at 2:30 p.m. that day. So the new mayor came in. He sent, essentially, as his first act as mayor, the same letter, more or less, with just the last paragraph was different, where Jackie McKinney is informing the governor's office that she is leaving office and to continue to use the same mayor at Gallup, New Mexico.gov email address as the contact. So essentially the new mayor sent basically the same letter as the previous mayor, so they are in lockstep on that. And in response, the governor complied with their request. Here you can see her executive order for 2020, the executive order number 27, issued by Michelle Grisham, governor of New Mexico. On April 30th, the mayor of Gallup requested that I declare a state of emergency in the city of Gallup pursuant to the Riot Control Act. Here's New Mexico's, I guess that's New Mexico State Act 1978, 12-10-16 through 12-10-21. In that request, the mayor noted that the city was in the throes of an unprecedented health crisis and that available medical resources had been stretched thin. Further, the mayor indicated that the community would be unable to adequately address the COVID-19 outbreak without the imposition of restrictions necessary to regulate social distancing, public gatherings, sales of goods, and use of public streets. So, we have, in the estimation of the mayor of Gallup, the city was just unable to handle the situation both medically and legally. It appears the mayor perceived that they didn't have the power as mayor of Gallup to issue this type of onerous restriction on the residents of this city, town, whatever. It's a population of only about 21,000 people, so this is not a major population center. But they felt that the person that did have the legal authority was the government. Clearly, with the Riot Control Act in the state of New Mexico, that is the case. And the governor complied with their wishes and imposed the order. So at least in that aspect, it doesn't seem like this is a governor just butting in where she's not wanted. They asked her to do this. Both the outgoing mayor and the incoming mayor, who was just recently elected. And it does seem like, at least for the scale of New Mexico, they have a legitimate problem. Because about a third of the cases are coming out of this remote, isolated county. Remember, the place that we're talking about here? Actually, let's go to the bigger map. If I can find my place here. There's just not a lot of populated areas in here. And if they could keep it restricted to this area, there's no need to burden the rest of the state. And in fact, as near as I could tell, the rest of the state, with the exception of McKinley and San Juan County, restrictions are actually being eased there. We're sort of returning to a semblance of, pre-coronavirus life, in that she's making things easier. So this is a governor that seems to be responding to conditions in the state at the request of the local government, not in opposition to, and to a case that seems legitimate by the numbers. If basically a third of the state's cases are isolated in this tiny community up in the northwest corner of the state, probably does make sense to restrict access. And we're not talking a lot of people here. I just don't see really any significant, wave of people that are just clamoring to get into Gallup. So my initial judgment on this, probably justified, probably makes sense, rather than to keep the entire state locked down, to only restrict this tiny little area that is having an issue, simply because from my first glance, obviously this being inside the Navajo Nation, the city of Gallup has a crime rate 5 times the state average, or I should say the national average, because of the extreme poverty in the area. About almost 44% of the city population is Native American. Clearly, you have to believe that, being inside of the Navajo Nation, or at least on the border of it. And you have the problems there of concentrated poverty. It's poorer than the average for the U.S. And substance abuse, especially issues like alcoholism, methamphetamine. I believe the outbreak, it's believed to have started in the homeless community, and they tried to mitigate that by offering homeless who tested positive lodging in certain designated COVID-19 hotels. Clearly that failed, probably because of the natural distrust that the street population would have for the government, especially a street population that might be heavily Native American. their natural and justified distrust of the government, basically entering their lives. It seems justified. The Navajo Nation itself, they don't seem to be in major opposition. In fact, their tribal government seems to have basically similar restrictions to most states on their own, tribal citizens. So, to me, this is not a case of a governor. Maybe now I will say the way she's worded it, where she scolded the residents for not social distancing, that's probably seemed a little harsh. And I think if she had just just framed the issue more of as listen, the mayor requested this. I'm going to go by the man the man and woman on the ground, their call. I'm going to back their play. The numbers seem to justify it in terms of the concentration of new cases and deaths relative to the state of New Mexico. Obviously, we're not talking about New York City here, but it's pretty odd because clearly I'm here in New York City, and what I'm sure most would acknowledge is the worst hit area of the United States. We don't have New York City closed off. I mean, people can enter New York City, I guess, if they want. Most people don't. I guess most people right now are staying away from New York City, even if without a government restriction on entering the city. But for the needs of New Mexico, this is an extremely local event. We're talking about a city of 21. I keep saying city. Is that technically a city? 21,000 people, town, city, whatever you want to call it. It's very easy to do, as there's really not that many ways in. I mean, look at the relief map here. There's not a lot of places you could live here. This is a lot of this area is Indian reservation. So they're trying to keep the problem localized. They don't have the infrastructure in this city to deal with a lot of coronavirus patients. It's probably interfering with their normal healthcare services that clearly are going to be direly needed if you have a vulnerable population that's poor. So for now, I'm going to give that a qualified, probably justified, but keep a close eye on it because that's a pretty onerous restriction where you have checkpoints around the major population center. Anyway, we'll leave it there for now. We'll keep an eye on it. That's all for this NeoUnrealist. If you want to help the channel, do me a favor, hit like for this video, leave a comment below, mash down the subscribe button if you're not already subbed to the channel. Click on the notification bell beside it, put it on the all setting to keep up with newer content. If you want to contribute directly to the channel, toss your hard-earned dollars into the tip jar. Follow links below to Patreon, Subscribestar, or PayPal. Or if you watch this on BitChute, you can just click on the green tip pledge button on the video player. Most importantly, though, thanks for watching.